This is Julia with iCadenza, and I'm here with Carter Larsen, who is a composer and pianist based here in Los Angeles, and we're thrilled to be here with you.
It is thrilling to be here, and so you have some questions for me.
I do have some questions for you.
Okay.
Now, my first question is actually, how did you get started with composition? You were a pianist first.
Well, actually, I was a composer all along.
Really?
Well. There were various stages of that. So at first composing, and then became a concert pianist. Laid off of composition for a long period of time, about 16 years, and then came back to it.
Wow.
So that's how it worked.
So how did you get started composing?
Well, I was always interested in composing when I was a kid. 6 years old, it's like everybody else started at 6, and then went to the conservatory, studied with John Adams, who's the top sort of most widely performed composer today.
Absolutely.
And then it defied his wishes and became a pianist and based in London, and where I performed with London Symphony Orchestra, Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, and all the major halls, and toured around and did that for enough time, and then got back into composition.
That's a very interesting career trajectory. I think it's somewhat uncommon for composers, actually.
Very uncommon, yes. No, my idea was, well, hey, all these other people wrote such great music and they were all pianists, and so why did I study them and study all their works first?
That sounds logical.
It makes sense, doesn't it? And I figure
Absolutely.
I can compose forever the rest of my life, but I can't really learn to play the piano. When you're young, you might as well get out there and do it. And it was a lot of fun.
That's fantastic. Now you're about to go to tour in China for a month, and you'll be, as one of the concerts you'll be performing will be actually before an audience of 500 million people. That's kind of a number that's hard to fathom.
Right.
Does that, knowing that you're going to be performing before so many people, does that change the way you feel about the performance?
Well, that's a television viewing audience. So I'm not actually seeing that audience.
Okay.
I know they're out there, but I'm not in direct contact. So, I think it's not uncommon actually. Once you're in the mainstream of being telecast in China, to be in front of 500 million or up to 1 billion or more. CCTV can reach lots of 1.3 billion. So it seems like a lot to us, but there's an audience out there in China for that.
How do you approach composition in general? Is it just something that comes to you and you just hear it in your head, or what happens when you sit down to compose?
Well, I think that it's important. Composition is based on improvisation and figure out the piano, because otherwise it's not pianistic. So I do compose at the piano, and I make sure I can play it. Otherwise, you're not necessarily getting through really, one-to-one on the interpretation. So
now your compositional style has been described as neo-romantic and postmodern. And how would you describe it yourself? Maybe not in the technical terms, but in more layman's terms.
Well, I don't like to think necessarily of myself being pigeonholed into one area, but I think that I'm taking a lot of elements from the past. I'm taking I'm strongly influenced by the classical tradition, and I am a romantic by nature. So by nature, people will be comparing my music to Chopin or Rachmaninoff or whatnot. But the reality is I'm living in the 21st century, and I'm incorporating jazz and new age and all sorts of pop, psychologically or subconsciously has gotten into there. So it kind of makes a new mixture.
Now, for a number of years now, you've been working on something called the Fantasia Suite, which you mentioned has a really personal meaning to you. Can you talk a little bit about that? And I believe you're premiering a part of that in China as well.
I'm actually premiering during the 210 Expo in China, which is taking place. My concert is taking place at the Grand Theater in Shanghai, which is the top of the 6 theater complexes in China. I'm premiering Mass Ascension, which is my largest scale composition for solo piano to date. Now, Fantasia Suite is not just a piece of music. It's a suite that's continuous and ongoing. And it's a concept I started about a decade ago, putting together music that was continuously being written and rewritten for piano, then for orchestra, and shifting back and forth, piano and orchestra alone sometimes. And the body of work is called Fantasia Suite. So every piece that I've written for solo piano is inside Fantasia Suite.
I see.
But Fantasia Suite's taken on a bigger life. It's become a concept where it's it means it's not just me playing the piano. It's the stage shows or competition. There's a competition now, and it's an ongoing project. And it's starting to represent a new movement of where classical music can go in the future.
What inspires you, both in terms of your composition and in terms of as a performer when you're performing, whether your own or other people's works? What really inspires you?
Well, I think just the music. It's hard to say. I think we're all made up of the universe, and we're all made up of emotions and how we interact with people and the surroundings and nature. Very much about nature. So these are all elements that are inspiring. And I know the audience loves to hear, oh, you were just in love and you're just tormented by this terrible thing and this person died and all that. But in fact, those are all sort of experiences that are going into our subconscious. And when we're composing, we draw on them at different times. It not necessarily is the time we draw on at the time when something happened. And it's a deeper connection than that.
Do you have any kind of pre-performance routine to kind of get you into that zone of experiencing the music you're about to play, or?
No, because whenever I get into those pre-things, they never work out. So it's better to just go with the flow,
So you just interact with people as usual, and then you just go on stage and...
Yeah, obviously it's not good to be, drinking and smoking beforehand and driving around in racing cars and things like that. To be calm and sort of centered might help. Then I think, it's just normal. Try to be normal, because it's part of my life, and it goes on every day. And the interaction with the audience is just its own natural phenomena.